As filmmakers often say, it's the story that drives the narrative forward. But it's the composition that shapes what we see on screen. So, what role does lighting play in a film? Is it simply about making things visible? Or could it be that lighting is storytelling in its own right? I hope this analysis can offer a new perspective on the role of lighting in film. If there's one director who commands the language of light and shadow with precision, it has to be Zhang Yimou, especially in Shadow, where the entire visual language is steeped in the style of traditional ink wash painting. He uses an exquisite design of light and shadow to conduct a visual experiment on power, identity, and truth. In this film, lighting doesn't just shape the image, it shapes the narrative. It is no longer a supporting element, but the central language of visual storytelling. Black and white become aesthetic choices, illusion and reality, strategic tools. The light and shadow is the light of an ink painting. The film's overall visual style is rooted in a black and white palette.
原则上尽量走黑白风，国画，黑白国画，不要太多鲜艳的色彩。场景也是，地面也是。
But that doesn't mean the absence of color. Instead, light and shadow themselves become the protagonists. Lighting design follows a naturalistic approach, aiming to preserve a strong sense of realism within each environment. Inside the palace, overhead soft light is combined with side light and backlight to shape depth and contrast, creating large areas of low-key lighting that generate a sense of tension and oppression. Throughout the film, a consistently low lighting ratio is maintained, avoiding direct frontal light to preserve volume and texture. Skin tones and background tones are kept extremely close, with subtle rim lighting used to outline the characters, gently separating them from the space. This lighting setup doesn't just serve the visual aesthetic, it casts the characters within the shadows of power, visible, yet unreachable. The rain battle is the ultimate expression of light and shadow in the film. A high backlight, positioned far in the background, mimics natural reflectio. It creates sharp specular edges that anchor the viewer's focus. A strong top backlight renders the characters in silhouette, while raindrops shimmer silver against the dark, turning rain into particles of light. Each flicker adds urgency to the fight, building spatial depth through flashes and shadows. Cool, low-color temperature lighting suppresses warmth, setting a harsh, unforgiving mood. Faces remain untouched by light, only blades and bodies are outlined, reinforcing the central theme. Truth and illusion are indistinguishable. In the palace scenes, practical light sources dominate the visual design. When the king appears, he is often hard side light, with little to no frontal lighting, leaving his face in shadow. Combined with underexposed backgrounds, his figure frequently merges into the darkness, a deliberate choice to portray cold, distant authority. The double, the shadow, exists in a far more complex lighting zone. Low-key lighting builds a sense of pressure, while his face is often split, half in light, half in darkness. A visual metaphor for the duality between shadow and sovereign, and the inner conflict within every character. Sidelight and top soft boxes are used to shape form and depth, but direct frontal lighting is carefully avoided, creating a visual sense of incomplete identity. Characters like Lady Jing are lit differently. Soft boxes and diffused fill light are used to minimize shadows, creating low-contrast facial lighting that reflects emotional repression through softness. In spaces like the mirror room, female characters are often placed in split lighting zones, half lit, half in shadow, symbolizing psychological fracture and a neutral, torn position. In the hidden passage, light becomes a form of judgment. The crew use cool-colored lights, angled from above and the side, casting fragmented shadows across the characters' faces. These lights were deliberately incomplete, creating a sense of visual uncertainty and pressure. We, like the characters, are trapped in the space of shadow and the unknown. Lighting in shadow is built around large soft boxes and overhead sources, combined with directional hard side light to sculpt the human form. Most scenes were shot on sound stages filled with ambient haze, where every beam of light is carefully shaped, filtered through curtains, lattice, and water surfaces, to remain precisely contained, creating images that feel like ink wash, diffused, yet controlled. In Shadow, you're not just seeing highlights and shadows, black and white, contrast and composition. You're witnessing a visual narrative of identity, desire, and control. Lighting becomes the director's second pay. Running across faces, lingering on the edge of each frame, it defines character, hints at emotion, and shapes what we believe and what we begin to question.